All right, welcome to the next episode of Over a Pint. We are here actually at my parents' house because I needed a place to film and mine didn't work today, but we're here with Kathleen Black. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kathleen. I run Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting, but I used to obviously be a realtor at first, so I get to work with a lot of top teams. So we work with a lot of people who are building their teams or have existing teams and everything that encompasses, which is a lot. Yeah.
Quite a few things there.
Quite a few things.
What are you drinking today for Over a Pint?
I am not drinking beer because I don't like beer. I remember when I went to university, like, you're going to come back and like beer. Like, no, I never did. So I was in Niagara-on-the-Lake last week. And it was funny because I actually did tastings and I went to Kunzelman and they had their higher end wine and they did a blind tasting. And this was the one that was $10 less, but I liked it. It was so much better. And the lady agreed too. So I was glad she did the blind tasting. So yeah, I'm supporting Niagara-on-the-Lake, which actually has really good wines.
And it tastes better in a pint glass. So.
I'm not going to have a whole pint of wine
Sure.
because anyone who knows me knows that's not a good idea. I'm just going to have a little bit of wine.
I'm drinking Lost Craft, which is just a craft beer I really like. Yeah. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Still as good as you remember?
I was going to say, when you do wine tasting, sometimes you take it back. You're like, I don't remember liking it, but yeah, it's still pretty good. It's decent for sure.
All the time. It's like when I used to go camping when I was young, like the first meal you have back is always like your best meal. And then you have it again, you're like, it's not that good anymore.
It's not that good anymore.
Doesn't live up to that. I haven't really eaten right for about a week.
Yeah. Usually when I go there, I try to go to a culinary. If anyone's watching goes to Niagara-on-the-Lake, I've been there too many times, but it's really good. Highly recommend it.
Is that why you do your conference there?
I do 2 conferences there, but this year we're moving. Actually, the 100 Deal Plus is going, as you know, to Lake Muskoka at Taboo. But yeah, that's what usually I go because I love it there. It's lots of fun.
Are you going to do the other one in
Niagara?
The Team Summit, Niagara?
Yeah. We're going to announce it, and that's why I went last weekend actually to see a new venue to pick exactly where we're going to go. So yeah, it'll be in Niagara. Eventually, it might come to Toronto, but I'm not quite ready to let go yet.
It's a good location. Like I like because it's like some of the one that I do in Collingwood. Is it's kind of secluded, whereas like when people do it in Toronto, I find that like the people at night kind of spread out and you don't see anyone. But like Niagara, Collingwood, everyone sticks together at night. Yeah. And it creates a nice atmosphere at a conference. Yeah,
like that's what last year at the 100 Deal Plus, it was actually really nice because it was so much smaller on purpose, right? Because it's 100 Deal Plus team leaders and everybody almost went to dinner together. Like we all had lunch together, we did wine tastings together. Right. It was so much fun.
So do you have things like that planned for
Muskoka? Well, I'm trying to work it's a different style event. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have some interactive, like we have a bonfire where we're going to be out networking. We all do dinner together, everyone this time. It's part of the event. What else do we have? And I'm trying to decide, depending on the weather, if we do any team building, because there's a beach and canoes and kayaks.
And it cooperates.
It depends on, if people feel like falling into the water and I don't know. But yeah, there'll definitely be networking. It's not just like super serious, sit there and listen to somebody. No, it's like just as much about learning from each other as it is from, us speaking, like the people coming out. Yeah.
So the mastermind side is like most conferences are not that style. So like for people who've never been to a mastermind, what's the difference with that compared to like what they would normally experience?
I think, you know what? Originally, I actually got the vision for it from somebody who was a client at the time. So way back a couple years ago, I was talking. It was Chuck Charlton who actually was saying, we'd really love a mastermind where we could be with people who are selling a certain amount. Like how like we really want to help and give back because they've spoken so many times at the conferences and they help so much, right? With team development. But it was his idea, and I heard it, and I was like, it's genius, right? Like, why wouldn't we take the people who've worked so hard to build and let them support each other because they have different obstacles, different success, right? Different systems. And so we started it at Ultimate Team Summit. It was just a session. So we ended up having 20 team leaders there that represented 4,000 deals a year, which was phenomenal, like billions in sales volume. So it's like, okay, this is amazing, but we only had an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm all about ideas. I'm like, imagine if these people could be together like 2 days, 2.5 days and be able to chill out a little bit, talk, relax. Yeah. And I'm a big believer in like creative environments. So I think when you're not all like so, even though people see me as so business, I think when you can relax and like, I love to go to the cottage. I love to hike. I love to bike around Niagara-on-the-Lake all day, right? Yeah. It's just like a passion for me. I would do it every day, but I really love that. So yeah, that was the idea. After the summit, I think I went around Niagara-on-the-Lake and they have a organic winery called Frog Pond, I think it is, and you can go and get a glass of wine and like sit on their dock and hear the frogs and all the animals. And I was sitting there and I was just like, how nice would it be to combine this whole experience? So that's actually where it came from. So it's very different because it's not breakout sessions. You're at different tables and your tables move. So we actually had, you know, a name and information for each person who participated. And every time we had a new session, they'd move and be with other people. There'd be another topic. So you really get a lot of time to get to know people, and you get so much value from connecting on that higher, like, well, deeper level, I guess, than you really do at, you know, a summit or a conference when there's hundreds or thousands sometimes of people.
Yeah, like I just did my first one that like I attended as an attendee.
Yeah.
And that was my first mastermind like that. And I was like, this is way better than like regular conferences that I've been to. So like, and I've been thinking of it a while, like a mastermind. Now I didn't think of doing it locally. I was like, what if we took like 10 people to like Costa Rica?
Yes.
Get like an Airbnb villa on the water, learn to surf in the morning, mastermind in the afternoon.
It's a good plan.
Like, that'd be perfect.
Yes.
Except the cost is going to be pretty high on that one.
Yeah, somebody, I've done Real Estate Uncensored podcast a couple times. I don't know if you've done it, but Matt from there actually messaged me and said, I think you need to switch up your mastermind to California because you guys are in the north and it'll be nice to switch it up. Meanwhile, like June is, you know. Yeah,
I've thought about doing that, but I don't have the right like work visas for the States. And I was talking to a guy who was doing them anyways without it, and they caught him at the border one time.
Oh.
And he ended up having to, like, he had 15 people paying $8,000 a head to be at his thing, except he couldn't be, so he did it virtually. So like he was just like Skyped in to an 8,000 a head mastermind for 2 days. Like they're all in LA, he's in Toronto.
For the whole experience.
Yeah. So it ended up costing him, because of like, he got denied, so it was a little bit extra work too. I think it said it ended up costing him like 8,000 in lawyer fees.
Oh, to be able to go back and do it.
Get it, and then get the right work visa with it, and do it all properly.
Yeah, see, that would be the other side. And to be honest, I mean, I love traveling the U.S. I love doing work in the U.S. I mean, we've done work in Manhattan, and we have clients in the U.S., but I also like supporting local, you know, if I can. I think we have beautiful destinations, right? Yeah. Why not? And and it's a draw. Like we have people come from Calgary, Edmonton, like thrilled to go to Niagara Lake, and same thing with Muskoka. So, you know.
Yeah, that's why I do mine in Collingwood, like the bigger people. So it's a little bit more fun than... you know, by the airport, convenient location that's not very like nice looking.
And I think what I like this year that we're doing really differently is we have people coming in who are all specialists in their own right? So like Sandra Pike is coming in, and she's going to talk about, I think it's social media, but whatever, like she has so many areas she could. So she'll talk for 20 minutes and then she'll break out into, hey, here's your questions, here's your focus. So it's just more targeted, it's more high value, because you think about like, if we cap it at 30 people, like I said 20, but last year we went up to 34. I mean, the return on that, if you actually ask the right questions, it's pretty cool, right? Like I know what it feels like to go, this is my weakness in my business. I'm just going to keep hitting it. And then by fluke, I'll talk to somebody who's great in that area, but you're kidding me. That's all you're doing. I spent 2 years trying to figure this out, you know, and I don't want that for our clients, let alone the people coming. So I don't know. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
I know like last year, Drew McIntosh went.
Yes, he was the rising. He was one of the. So last year we had 4 people apply as rising stars. So rising stars are, I'm committed, I'm building my team, I need to be there, I want to be there. So Drew and 2 other people, 3. This year we initially had 40 people by the cutoff date apply. Yeah. I picked 4. We've had 10 since, and more still rolling in. So I mean, and one of the rising stars, their team already does 90 deals a year. Like it's not, you know, like like it's really high. High producers.
So you got another entire mastermind, the Rising Star Mastermind.
Pretty much.
Another 2 days set up.
Pretty much, yeah. And I've had people saying, "Hey, I'm on my own, but I'm doing, you know, like almost 70 transactions with an assistant. I'm number 1 in my office. I'm at like why like stop the 100 plus." But the idea was to have something like it's a threshold to shoot for. And I know with team building for a lot of teams, it was, I don't know why, but it became a marker. Like it's hard to hit that, and once you hit it, it's so much easier to grow exponentially. But there's something about that number. Yeah, there's something about. I think you need to have your team more organized, or you need 20 people, and that's not our style, right? But you know, it's something to celebrate. Why not? And then people look forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know Drew, like he raved about it, just like talking to people, and now it's like, and then you talk to others who are like, they love having those rising stars there. Because I've talked to some people who were there, and they're like, it's fun to like just see how much they soak it up, and you can see which ones are going to be successful just by how much they try to learn while they're there.
Well, and I think it also reminds people how far they've come, you know what I mean? Like, I think for Drew, it probably made him feel like, look how far I've come. And for them, they're like, wait a minute, you know what? We're beating ourselves up all the time that our business isn't as organized as we want or where we want. But you know what? I remember being like Drew. I remember being at that phase of building. And, you know, like, I think all businesses are hard on themselves. I'm hard on my business sometimes. I'm sure maybe you are, you know? Yeah, like, I can be like, okay, it should already be there. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think, and everybody's nice and open and sharing. Like, I've never so far, knock on wood, in the 2 ultimate team summits, like since I stopped doing the Canadian team summits, because there are like 8 of those, but like the feedback is always, I can't believe that these people are like selling the most industry and they're so nice, they're so professional, like they care about the industry, they want to give back. And to me, that's more important, right? To have those people there. Like, I don't care about having somebody there who sells 800,000, whatever, 600 deals if they're, you know, well, they're not going to contribute. They're not going to feel they got something. I don't want somebody coming there and they don't feel they got something out of it. You know, I love seeing, like, Drew was there last year. Michael Sueda was there. I'm forgetting the third. It'll come to me as we're talking. I can see their face right now.
I'll be really offended watching it, being like,
Kevin Latham, I got it. I knew. I could see his face. I know exactly. You know, and Neil Bailey. Hey, we actually did it for. And I mean, and Neil again, his team already. Like, he's many times done way over 100 deals, right? But yeah, it was just, I'm excited for them and I love the enthusiasm, and I'm a big fan of underdog, right? So somebody who's like, no, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there, and other people are like, you're crazy, what do you think? Like, you know, I live to support those people.
So you were an agent before doing all this.
Yes.
When did you decide to make that transition, and why to coaching?
Yeah, it's a long story, but
we got time.
It's a long story. So essentially, like, I went to I'll go back, so explain it. So I went to university for psychology and women's studies. I went for journalism. Yeah. I like killed myself to get into the journalism program. It was so competitive at the time to get into Carleton. I got there. By the end of the first year, I'm like, I don't want to do this.
You were a Raven?
No, because I don't really get into sports, but yeah.
I was a GG.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I didn't go to the rivalry games. I don't know, but you know, I should have, because they look fun. I went to the club, but I didn't go to the games. So, you know, whatever, the after party. But so by the end of the first year, I was like, journalism, too intrusive. You know, like, it's communication still, but I wasn't feeling it. I'm like, I don't want to be in people's face when they're having a hard time. It just wasn't for me. And so, I transitioned to psychology and women's studies, and I was running dental offices and training scripting and systems and all this stuff, you know, lo and behold, while I was getting my degree. And then I had my son, so I did all that stuff, and I started to rent rooms in our townhouse, because I had this baby and I didn't want to be in an apartment. I don't know why. I didn't want him to be in ghetto student housing, like on my own, no problem, I don't care. But, you know, this new baby, I was like, no. So I started to get these weird, looking back, it's like everyone says, all the seeds were there, right? Like leverage, real estate. And then I got married, we started to buy investment properties. Yeah. So it was all sweat equity, and I was renting them out, lugging the kids, you know, up the hill in the beaches on Woodbine to show properties and everything else. And my husband kept saying, get your license. And I didn't want to. I'm like, I have little kids. I'm running around all day long. Like, I'm doing renovations. I'm painting. Like, I would like sand the drywall, everything. I'm like, enough. Like, I have enough on my plate. And finally I gave in, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to get my real estate license. And by that time, we had bought several properties, kind of renovate, move to the next one, renovate, live in one unit, move to the next one, and then had another child. We're like, okay, we're in an owner suite at the beach. Like, it's beautiful. We love it. But, you know, like, we have no room. So we ended up to move to Oshawa. That's how we moved there. And I got my license finally. And I went on a team. So I ended up thinking I'd get my license just to buy investment properties. I wouldn't help anyone else. I didn't care. Thought, go on a team. You'll get a lot of experience. You'll be busy. I got into real estate with 3 other people. Within a year, the 2 other people had left the industry. Yeah, but right away, they're like, why would you go on a team? Why would you give up your commission? Why would you do all this? And meanwhile, my first year, like, I was already top 1% in Durham within the first 18 months, top 1% in Trev for the amount of production. So I was like, I was super happy, right? So that team started a coaching company, and essentially I went, like, helped them with their initial books, went to the events, and they had 3 owners, and anyways, the 3 owners wanted to all go in a different direction, fine, and I didn't know the company was kind of in trouble, and so by then I was director of coaching, I was director of operations, so I kind of said, hey, like, I'll run the company, I'll stop selling, but I need half the company, like, or I'm going to go do something else. Because I liked selling. I was really good at selling. I loved my clients. Just like now, I loved my clients. But I didn't there was something that wasn't fulfilling me. Like, I don't know, there was just something that was missing that I felt like there's more to this, like there's more. And so when I started coaching, I loved it. Like right away, I really loved it. I loved the personal development. I liked the psychology aspect. I loved the systems because I took all the pieces that I used as a single parent, because I was divorced by then, to like basically rebuild our content, right? Because we are a new coaching company. I don't know if you can relate, but it's hard to have good content.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, so there's a lot of complaints like this is fluff or this is whatever. So I spent actually 18 months just rebuilding the content. Like no new events, no money out, no extra marketing, just rebuilding the content. So lo and behold, anyways, the books got opened up. The company was like basically probably going to go under. And I said, you know what? It's a great opportunity. Why not? And I look back and I'm so thankful. Like, who gets the chance? When you turn around a company, when you start your own, it feels like you're on fire, right? Like, because it's like, I don't have, a lot of debt to clear. I'm good. Like, it just felt so much easier than those years. So yeah, long story short, eventually I sold my shares back in to that company. I ran it for 5 years. Yeah. And then I sold the shares, and I've had this one now just over 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I'd heard your name before, but then once you started it felt like you were already pretty established, having not really heard you that much.
Yeah.
Kind of came out, you're like, oh, she's already pretty big.
Well, it was that I think some people coach part-time, but I had coached full-time and ran the company and trained other coaches and done events all over. So, but I never cared about the name, to be honest. Yeah. Like, the company was my baby. I thought I'd be there forever. I was like, this company's my baby. It's in my blood. Like, I'm going to run it until I can't. That's it. And they had a different vision. I had a different vision. What's ironic is they've taken it exactly in their vision. And I was so worried when I left, but it's like I didn't stop. I just pivoted and went in my vision. So everybody won, right? It was for the best. But at the time, it obviously was crazy.
What have you found different now from like being like 50-50 to now being the sole owner? Have you found any differences in how you've been operating?
Yes, my leadership style, I'm very collaborative. So if I don't have the right people around me, it's hard because I want to be on board, right? So I find a lot of freedom in having the 100% ownership. I find I can drive things forward, and I have a team now who are great. Like, we've had to do what all businesses have to do, right? Like, we've had turnover in every position on our company in 2 years. Every single one. I just challenge it, like every single one, and for the better, because we've grown, the business got bigger, it demanded different things, right? And some of the people needed different things. And I find it good. Like I've said, I think going into business with someone is very much like marriage, and you need to have, even for me with my values, it's even more than marriage. I know that sounds crazy, but like, you can move out, you can get a divorce, but you own the company, you don't want to sell, we don't get along, now the company's spinning and it's not moving forward. And for me, that's painful. So I think I always said, I don't know if I'd ever have another business partner, like maybe an investor, I don't know. But I feel good about growing it organically and being able to like feel like it's something I've built, right?
Yeah, I've had a few like offers of like investors. I'm like, I don't really want that. Like, I'd rather just keep to myself. And like, I'm bringing my brother in who's going to be partner, but it's still me kind of deciding everything. That's what I want. Like, I need that final say.
Well, and I worry about it sometimes because I have that personality, whereas like, okay, are you actually holding a business back because you need strategic partners and alliances? And there's lots of businesses right now in real estate that's what's happening. They're connecting with people, they don't necessarily even always have the same experience or resources, but they have huge backing that's going to pump it out. And I think you have to decide what you're in it for. Like right now, my heart's still so in it that I'm okay, but there might come a time where I'm like, I might be holding the company back by not doing that. I don't know. I think about it lately, but the same. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Because I've looked at some of the companies that I'm trying to emulate. Yeah. And but do things a little bit different. I'm like, if I had an investor, I could shave 3 years off of catching up to them and then eventually surpassing them. Or I could not give up part of my company and do it slower.
This is it. Yeah. And sometimes quick growth, like when we first started open this company, we had really quick growth. And I kept saying, be careful, pull back. Everyone's like, it's so good. I'm like, no, it's not. If you grow too quickly, it can actually be a horrible sign in your reputation. It
killed me at the beginning. So when I first started, it was just me basically. Mm-hmm. And I got up pretty fast to at a 400 a month package, 16, 17,000 a month just by myself. And I burnt out completely.
Yeah.
And it got like my clients, the results started suffering. And I took on too much. And like, so then I ended up having to like basically reset all our packages, change all the price, like basically doubled all our prices, change hired help. And then like, basically I've almost, besides a couple, got rid of most of those clients and just started over from the beginning. Like it was complete reset at one point. Now it's like we're growing in a way that's sustainable. Whereas at the time it was just like anyone who wanted to come on, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm exactly with you. Like I'd rather have slow, consistent growth. And I see it with my clients too. Like I always use that example. People call for a consult call and they're like, oh, I know you coach so-and-so and they exploded in their business 2 years ago. And now I see they're doing it again. And I'm like, we've had a consistent step-by-step daily plan. And if anything, they probably feel it's boring because I keep like, no, get back to the plan, get back to the plan. I'm probably like, Kathleen's so boring. I want to go have fun. But, you know, to the outside, that's what it looks like this crazy takeoff, you know? Well, that's what I've had to like fix with mine because like I'm one of those guys, like if I get bored, then I start to check out. So if it's the same thing every day, I notice I start to check out a bit. So I kept being like, I'll take this on, then I'll take this on. Then all of a sudden I have 8 different things on the go at a time. Yes. And I was like, all right, so now I've pulled it back and I only have about 2 or 3.
The same. This is the first year I will not create so far a new workshop or a new event. Like I'm finally happy that I'm like, our grid is good. Like we have masterminds every month with all our people except June and November because of the Ultimate Mastermind, Ultimate Team Summit. And we have webcasts, and we have the in-person workshops, and I see like you, like we'll go and speak at meetings, whatever, conferences. And it's the same thing. Like I think it's your business kind of transitions. I see this with team leaders too. Like I've watched it and I finally hit that place and it's so weird for me to finally say it. But I'm like, the coaches who work with us are better with the clients than me. We finally hit that because I'm so used to the bigger teams and I'm so about pushing them that the other clients are like, what are you talking about? Like we don't even know what you're saying, right? So it finally, like it was kind of refreshing to go, you know what? Like they are more relatable than me. Yeah. You know, like I'm good in the conferences, I'm good in the webcasts, I'm good in the small doses, but when you're just starting team building, I seem a little bit intense. Right?
I had that same with Facebook ads. Like there was actually, it was funny. It was one of the first times I heard it at least. Yeah. Well, someone submitted a request on our site for one-on-one training, and they're like, "But please not with Andrew. He intimidates me. I don't think I can keep up." And I was just like, I never thought about that, but they specifically is the only time someone's requested because normally it's the other way. They're like, "We want training, but we only want it with Andrew because we've kind of built the brand that way of like me being at the forefront." Sure. Whereas now they're starting to be like, no, he's, I don't want that. I want someone smaller.
And it's not, I think some people are like, oh, like, you know, if they want me, it's an ego thing. But to me, if you have a team, nothing is a better compliment than like when we have on Facebook and people are going, like their coaching team is all kind of awesome. Like they said something, like to read that, it makes me so happy. Like why would I want to lead a team of coaches and find out that people aren't happy and they're not doing a good job? Like we made changes because I'm like, that's not cool, right? Like I'm happy that they want them. I'm like, and they are awesome. You know, like it's a good feeling.
How much work do you like, has it been a conscious effort to like promote them as opposed to just like you? Then with me, we've had to make a bit of that shift where we're trying to promote people on the team just as much. So it's more that they're hiring the company, they're not hiring me.
I think in the last, for me, like I'm big on, and I think a lot of people do this, but I'm big on it all starts in my mind. When I see the shift, I will start to do things differently and the world will just react to it, right? So I think I've been a year working on that shift and a lot of changes have come from it. But I promote like the first year of Summit, this is good to this question. I wanted it to be collaborative. I was like, I want everybody in the company to be on stage as much. I want them all as edified as much. Don't we leave the Summit and what do you think the feedback is? Where the heck was Kathleen? And I'm like, what? Again, I was in a lot of the advanced sessions with our clients, but I wasn't necessarily on the main stage every day. So my big keynote was the third day after lunch, the last one. So don't people start to leave. And I'm like, okay, like I'm finally going to do this. So we had about half the room still there. And I mean, the review, like I almost cried with what they said after. It was probably the keynote of my life still to this point with half the audience there. But I couldn't believe it when people were like, yeah, like we came to see you. You weren't like, we weren't there because we weren't clients and we left. Like we left early. So last year I was there probably too much because I was like speaking all day for 3 days.
I was at that one. You were
I was speaking a lot. So no, like this year already, like even with our new coaches, I'm like, if you have something you love, something you're passionate about, this is where you come and say how it can fit into team. I want you guys speaking. So no, I'm 100% about, I want every person who's on our coaching team to feel like they can write a book, they can do a talk, they can be a specialist in a certain area. Like I'm not intimidated by that. As long as you have the right people, it works. If you have the wrong people, no, it doesn't work, right?
So I'm trying to find the balance with my conference because like last year I spoke at it. I emceed a bit. I actually got Kieran to MC quite a bit of it. Yeah. But like this year, I'm trying to like not make it the Andrew show.
Yeah.
Because like, especially because it's for charity, so it's not like a one about our company.
Sure.
So that's where I'm trying to find the balance this year. So like this year, I'm not even on the schedule to speak on day one.
Really?
I'm just emceeing the day.
You might have pulled back too much.
Yeah, well, so there's a second optional day, and I'm running that whole day.
Oh, okay.
So like that's what I was thinking, because if I do the second whole day myself, like my team will be helping a bit too. They're kind of digital
it's
marketing.
like workshop stuff, right?
So it's a hands-on workshop style one. So that'll be just entirely my team and I. And I'm like, if I do that whole day and people come to day 1, 2, where's too much? So like actually no, I'm going to be on stage for the last half hour, but I'm actually just doing a live over the Pint on stage.
Oh, nice.
So it'll still be someone else on stage. But so I'm just trying to find that balance of...
It's like a live show. It's fun.
It changes it up a little bit, and I have a few surprises planned for the event too, so that'll be fun.
Well, I'm glad I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. I get a reason to go back up to Collingwood.
Yeah, well, that's what's great. It was like last year we had Paul Hannon do you know Paul?
I know the name for sure, but I don't know if we know each other.
Build an entire business like agent-to-agent referrals. He's like the expert at that type of marketing. And so the event before last year, he did like a huge party at the in the village. So that was awesome. But like people stayed up to like 3 a.m. So like you could see the people who stayed over trailing in. Like some people didn't show up to like noon the next day. So it was pretty funny. So I think we're gonna do that again.
Maybe at least they showed up.
Yeah. Well, so a couple of them, I put them on the first panel of the day. Yeah. So they had to show up.
Good call. Good call. Yeah, I see it when they come in summer. I'm like, you look a bit green. They're like, yes, we are on. And the next night we're going to bed, 8 o'clock.
It's the conference season.
See that, but I could go out at your conference because at mine last year I went out for a little bit and then I saw the turning. I'm like, I'm going to bed. I'm out. Like, nope, not happening. Right? You have to have that line.
Well, we had he didn't drink as far as I noticed, but like Tim Hudak stayed out with us all night.
Just having fun.
I was like, I was like, this is great because like everyone was like, it was so informal and everyone was just having fun and getting to know each other, which is a lot of conferences don't have that same kind of setting.
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure.
Or like, now it was because partially a smaller group, but it was like everyone hung out together because like normally like I go to Inman in New York and it's a lot of like little groups here and there go off, but there's thousands of people. They can't all go out together.
No. Yeah.
So it's hard to find like where does it get too big that can't happen anymore.
Well, I think it's fun, right? Like how often, I don't know. I guess the thing is I'm not the typical realtor personality, and I also haven't been selling full time for like years, right? But I find usually like when you're running conferences or you're at conferences, it's like you don't really get those same experiences. Particularly, I don't, at least. Maybe I'm, like maybe I just like no, I'm out of here. I'm an introvert. That's it. 1 year we did a client party, we brought a DJ in and it was funny, like they were playing all reggae and fun music and someone came up to me like, you know that what they're saying is like really saying bad things in the language. I'm like, it's a fun song.
I'm not paying attention to this. Actually, it's funny, I had a grade 10 math teacher who was from Romania, didn't speak English that great, and apparently her favorite artist, but she didn't know English, was 50 Cent.
Oh,
and she was in the class just kind of singing to herself when we were writing a test about like, take you to the candy shop, let you lick my lollipop, and like going on and on. We're all just like, I don't think she knows what this means.
No.
That's right.
And true story, but sad. But I actually got in trouble for that as a parent because my son, I used to listen to all the hip hop music at the cottage, and I guess he was at school running and like singing this song, and they called me in. They were going to suspend him. I felt so bad.
No, that's my bad.
Like, he's like, what? Like, this is my mom listens to this all the time. Like, it's me.
Yeah, it's not on him.
No, and it wasn't his fault. Right? They didn't suspend him, but I thought they were going to.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, just wait.
Yeah. It's like, well, my dog's already, she's 18
Yeah.
months, she's already said shit or
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
She replaced uh-oh perfectly with shit one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's not true, because like, she
Yeah.
has this thing where she'll like grab food and throw it on the ground and just say uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then one day she did it and went shit. And I was like, oh no.
Oops.
Our bad.
Yeah, come up with a close name. Yeah. I got in a car accident once in Ottawa, and every time I went on the on-ramp, my son was like 1.5. He would do the same. He'd go, uh-oh, like going down the highway. I was like, don't do that, you're jinxing me. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, the conferences are fun. I think it's interesting with all the lead gen and so many people doing it now, and just, I don't know, it's interesting for me to watch it, like see how so many transitioning, oh my gosh, so much transitions happening, right? I think it's pretty cool.
You work with mostly like, obviously high producing agents. What do you find is the biggest struggle that they have? It's probably different, I'm guessing, than what a lot of the newer agents have.
I think like at the end of the day, like you bring to kind of an interesting thing. I've really pondered it for the last couple of years, even with my business. I try to be like, okay, like where are the trends happening? And I think the same struggles happen for team leaders as any entrepreneur. But up until now, like we haven't really had that. Well, they're an entrepreneur. Well, yeah, they are, right? They're trying to build out their business beyond themselves. And I think at the end of the day, like until they have clarity of the business layout, like the business structure, it's very hard for them to have enough belief and confidence to present it well, because unless you believe in it and you see it, it's hard to mirror it. Because we have systems that hands down, like the people have built with us and are great, they use those systems and they struggle at the beginning, but they're successful. But when you're first trying to use them and you're going, well, now there's all these big teams around me, how can I offer what they're offering? And it's so hard to be like, yeah, but guess what? Those teams all started using exactly this, and they had the faith to just jump in and give it a try. So I find there's that side, like being able to motivate your people, like keep them inspired without them feeling like you're harping on them, because a lot of team leaders are drivers and they're producers and just get out of their way, right? They're like, I can get this done. I just think everyone else should be able to get this done, forgetting that they've got like 10, 15 years in the industry. And, so I think it's the biggest struggle is probably that transition, like to actually be willing to do what it takes. Like everybody wants their team to love them, and you want to love your team. And I know what it feels like to be like, I have to make changes on my team. It sucks, right? Like, and personally for me, because I'm all about making things better, I'll spend a huge amount of time trying to do everything I can to make it better. And sometimes like to build a business and be serious about it, when things aren't working, you have to call it. Be like, it's not working. This is where we need to go. Are you on board or are you not? And if it doesn't happen again, be like, I have to make a call, right? And I think that's really hard coming out of like a sales business and now having a team and being like, I work so hard to recruit these people and train these people and I care about them and I know their families, and it's not working, right?
That was a struggle.
It's tough.
Now we're in a good spot, but I had that struggle exactly not that long ago, right? It's like, well, now it's well over a year, but having that like, okay, I need a big change to happen. Yeah. And a bit of awkwardness there, but had to do it.
Well, and you know what? It comes from pleasure or pain, right? Like I love to work with visionary people. Like, and when I say visionary, I mean, they know where they're going. They're 100% committed. They're implementers. They will do what it takes to get there. And they don't see it as being mean, because they're not mean about it. They're not. And that's a beautiful thing. They're not cutthroat. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I love to work with those style of people, but I still see in my business, like most of my major growth times came, and I don't like it. It upsets me, but it came from like fear or pain. And because I understand how that works, I'm like, why is that still there, right? All these years of personal development, but there's something in you. And the same thing, I switched my business a lot this year because last summer I got vertigo. I've talked to you about this before. Scared the hell out of me. I was so scared. I was like, okay, because I took 2 years to work on my business, and no secret. I said, I'm not gonna, like, I joke about it, I'm like, no clubs, no dating, nothing, right? Because I'm single, but I was like, no. I work like evenings, weekends, all day. Like, I was like, I'm building this business, because I left the other business and I was so scared of, okay, like I have obligations, I have 2 kids, I'm on my own, I have nothing. I was so scared. I worked like crazy. I filled my entire coaching plate up within 2 months. And then with another 2 months, I filled up another coach who had like 3 clients and then had 18 within that 2 months, because I know how to work. Like, that's one thing, I'm not scared to work, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna work. But I did it, and it's ironic what you tell your brain, right? Because I said 2 years. I'm willing to sacrifice my life for 2 years. Right coming up to the 2 years, didn't I start not to feel good? I was like, something's going on. I don't know if I'm burnout. I don't know if it's a health thing. And then boom, the vertigo thing, like talk about just like knock you off. And it wasn't light. Like it was I said, I thought it was an earthquake. So it really woke me up. And I said, I'm not running my business like this. Like anything that cannot be scaled and leveraged and it's not going to be healthy for anyone in my environment, it's done. And miraculously, when you make choices like that, I fully believe, like I'm one of those believers, alchemists, that idea. When you make a decision, the universe parts ways. Yeah. It might not be instant, but I've had it happen several times in my life where I've internally made a decision and watched my entire world flip upside down, but to move me towards what I said. Yeah. Right? So I think with team leaders, it's like they almost make it so difficult for themselves so that they have to pick. Either I'm going to get it together and do what needs to happen, or I'm going to walk and I'm going to sell on my own. And I don't know any team leader who hasn't gone through that. And I've gone through it several times.
Yeah, I've met a lot who have made that decision to go back on their own too.
Sure.
I feel like some people, that's just the right call.
For some people, some I think they gave up too soon, but I never give up on my clients. I don't give up on them. I'm like, you can do it.
Remember that.
Yeah, I don't. No, they know. They know. I've never given up on a client. Like if they truly were like, this isn't for me, then I support them. But no, I've seen people go through like, this isn't going to work, lose their whole team, and then rebuild a dream team that their business is fantastic, right?
It's the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, right? Like you're high one day, then low the next, and then high up again.
Yeah. It's the long game. Yeah. It's when you're all in, it's easier. You know what I mean? It's like I'm all in. Even when I have a bad day, I'm all in. Like I'm not going anywhere. Like somebody would have to like, and I don't need vertigo. Don't give it to me. But like I have to get knocked off because I'm not. So it's easier for me because at the end of the day, you just make the decision because I know I'm going there anyway, right? I don't know.
So you have a lot of systems for like growing teams.
Yeah.
What would you think for someone who hasn't grown it yet, but they're kind of at that point? What should be like the first things they do when they're looking to take that step?
Yeah. So this is going to bring me to one of the big mistakes. A lot of agents know in the future they want a team, so they'll wait too long. Like they'll try to bring in the admin. They'll try to leverage in an individual agent mentality, and they'll get too far where they're so busy that it's painful to pull back and do the systems. Like we've had great success with people as individual agents who worked with us and said, we want to ramp up our business using the systems that we can then leverage out for a team. Because I've had a lot of people like use other systems and have to rip it all out. And like, this is very painful. So I think the first thing they want to do is have an understanding of this business is a business, you're not the business. And if you can't transition to that, you probably can never have a successful team. Not one that's valuable that you could sell, that's for sure. But the business is business, and it's so important because if I can't look down on my business and see all these different pieces moving, I can't get organized enough to leverage them. And even for an admin, you need that. Like you can have an admin who comes in and they're great and they're strong and they organize you. Like I've had times in my business, as much as I train systems, where I've been like, we are so busy that I need the right person and I'm willing to let you take the reins a little bit more. Whereas usually I'd say do this, right? So sometimes those people are a miracle to our business. But end of the day, like if you don't know exactly where those handoffs are and what unlicensed activities someone else could do, and realize that someone else could do any of the unlicensed activities, you're probably getting further behind than you are forward. So the first thing before you do anything is start to pick it apart. What, like Unique Ability 101, right? Like what do I love to do? What energizes me? What do I make the most money at? What am I horrible at? And people hate talking about it, right? Like the unconscious incompetence, people hate, and I get it because you're walking around as a train wreck in that area and you don't know, and we all have it, right? It's like small talk. I have no problem. It used to be an unconscious incompetence, now it's a conscious incompetence, but I used to not know.
Well, knowing's the first step.
Knowing's the first step, but the problem is like in business, we all have unconscious incompetencies where we don't know, we're horrible at it. So I think starting to get an idea of that, like we do an exercise and anyone can do it, like it's not a secret or anything, but you write down everything you do per day or week in your business and you have to categorize it. It's not horrible. My mind's like horrible. No. Incompetence, good, great, and excellent. I might be screwing up one of them, but something like that. And anything under good are things that over the next year, like anything incompetent, you have to horrible, incompetent, whatever word.
Either word.
Any of them. You want to delegate them, right? Because they're taking so much energy in your business, and then that gives you a way to like have a system for it. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. I think I kind of am. Like, I think you need to have enough deals. I think you need to understand what your value is per hour, because when you're starting to leverage an admin, you do need to look at yourself as self-employed, and that's value per hour. So how many deals did you do? How many hours did you work? What are you really making per hour? Because it's probably a lot less than even for me. I spend more time in my business, right? So what is that? Because the minute you see that, you're like, okay, now I have power, because now I know I can bring in someone else who can do this, leverage them. And if they're not great, hey, like I can either go back and go, wow, I suck at training, I have no systems, this poor person, or they're not the right fit, and I'm going to try it again. Like, that's okay. So I think those are the first steps. I'm not a big believer in a licensed assistant as your very first step of leverage. Yeah. I think if you want to be a team leader, it actually screws you up, because you haven't figured out the system and the unlicensed side that you can leverage. It's great if you never want to be a team. Like, if you're like a listing driver, you do a ton of listings, you're like, I don't ever want buyer's agent, I don't want anything else. Yeah, get a licensed assistant. Absolutely, right? Like, you could probably double your business. But if you want to go to the next step, maybe not.
Yeah, basically. Because like I've talked to a lot of leaders now who, like, especially on the show, because we interview kind of a lot of top agents. Yeah. A lot of them don't even sell anymore. They just manage their team, which is completely different than being an agent now. So
absolutely.
Which I think that's
totally different.
That's where I found, like, some agents I've talked to who are now individuals, is they started that, hated managing people, and then gone back to sales. And
I'm not gonna lie, like, this is part, like, it's not the majority of our clientele, but I mean, people leverage coaching just to do their weekly training meeting, right? Yeah. Train their new recruits, train their ISAs. Like, we specialize in all that stuff because they're like, I'm busy, or I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Like, they're frustrated. Like, if they don't just do it, I'm frustrated. You can get them to do it. We're okay. Like, we don't have a problem with that. But yeah, if you don't, and I think you just brought up a really important point, like, the industry shifted so much. Like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, when I started doing this, it was all about going from top producer to team, right? Team leader. It's so beyond that. Like, it's so beyond that. The teams have moved up to organizations. That's what's happening. Like, they have an organizational structure, and the people here are looking at the organization and going, well, I should be doing what this. Well, you haven't even, like, you have to build to get here. And it's so tempting. Like, I can see that. Oh, I should do what the biggest company. Yeah, you got to go step by step. So it's a much more complex industry, really, like, for teaming up and partnering and all of that stuff than it was, like, even 5-6 years ago, I think, for sure.
So, like, for, say, someone who wants to get there, since you mostly were top producers, at what point does it make sense for someone who wants to, down the road, start a team, doesn't have the volume now, engage with, like, a coaching company like yours, where it's team focused?
Well, we have individual coaching where they don't get any, like, we'll coach them on our systems and ramp up their production, but they don't get any team resources, and then they can move up to team. Yeah. So we have people coach with us who are like 12 deals a year, 15 deals a year. And that's why I created that individual, because we've had people, some of our biggest success stories were people doing relatively small amounts of production. They just ramped up, right? So I think, like, if you're anywhere in that 19 to 20 deals, I would definitely be starting to lay some foundations to leverage later, because you can get stuck otherwise, right? And 5 years later, you're just like, oh, my business never grew. Well,
plateaued and
and that's okay. Like, some people are happy selling that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's interesting, like, you're a lot of the team leaders, you're right, like, the big teams, they're moving into not selling as much, but it's amazing how many still have team leaders selling like 80-90% of the production. And that's hard, because, like, that's a lot of work, right? Like, to manage all those people, you're still going to do 80-90% of the sales, and your business is worth next to nothing. It's just the same as selling a book, right? I don't know, it's interesting. So for me, I always am trying to, like, get them, at least, I'm always happy, I know I'm talking my hand, but I'm always happy when the scales tip. Like, the team's doing just as much or more than you, like, that's always a bit of a celebration, because it also means we're good leaders, right? We're supporting the team. So
how do you, and you brought up there briefly, like, how much work do you think it takes to get to a point, and how much value is there of being able to sell your company? Because, like, especially with most agents, be like, say it was me, it'd be like the Andrew Fogliato team is how, like, most people brand. I feel like selling that would be hard. So, like, what do you do to, like, coach people towards that idea of maybe one day you could sell this while having it branded to the person?
Yeah, it's a transition. Like, when we're initially trying to build the team, we want to do everything we can to leverage a brand. So if somebody's a top producer, they're trusted in their area, we're not going to throw that out. We want to leverage that. I think it's a huge mistake that people who aren't big enough and they're trying to take their names off. Because like, why would you take one of your biggest strengths of why people want to work with you, right? And that people know you. I mean, to get mind share in a community is invaluable. So we leverage that until they get big enough that they're true team. The scales have tipped a little bit, and then usually there's some rebranding in progress. Because once you get to that million, 1.2, 1.3, we want to start to combine lead generation with branding. And that's a beauty, and maybe even a little bit higher for some teams now because the market's gone up so much. But then we're going to mix it, and that's a good time to go, okay, like how can we mix it and make it a little bit more neutral? But at the end of the day, if you think, and I'm saying it this way, but I don't know, whatever. If somebody thinks, okay, you know, I'm going to switch to a neutral team brand so I can sell my team, but I sell 80% of the units on the business, it doesn't matter. Like you're still not going to be able to sell. You're going to sell the book, right? So I'm really big on casting that vision of how our business is valued. What is the risk? What components do you want to have? So it's less risky for an investor to buy your business. Because usually at the start of a session, we'll say, well, how many people would buy their own business? And everyone's like, yeah. And then you go through everything and all the risks. And I think we had 2 hands in the room at the end who said they'd actually buy their own business, right? You know, like if the business is still you, it's not really a, reliable investment. But I think end of the day, like if the business is self-functioning, not even totally, let's say you still do team meetings, you still sell 20%, right? But the business has moved to organizational, that's a business worth buying. Like I'm not psychic, but my prediction, you are going to see people who have built up organizational teams. We're not in the middle, right? And we have team levels, and that's not today's about. But organizational teams, you're going to see people who are aggressively doing multi-location teams start to get really interested in the people who are going to want to sell those platforms, right? And particularly when there's similar systems. Like we already have people who only refer within our network because they use the same systems. It's effortless. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of opportunity there. Or even partnering. Like think about it. You've worked yourself out where you're doing 10% of the deals. You might just want residual income. Still, you might love your teammates. You might love coaching your team. And you might say, hey, we're going to partner to have strength in other areas. Like the top teams are doing so well creating environments of performance. Like I really think they're driving out and taking so much ground share for like market share, whatever, for a reason, right? They've laid the foundation for it.
So like, because I've seen this a lot lately of agents who like do really well, say in their area, and then just open up their team somewhere else where they actually have no brand.
Yes.
So for doing that, like, do you recommend partnering with someone in that area?
Well, I think it's hard. Like it's an investment. I'm just saying, think about it. If you had an up and running, if you have a team and it's strong and you want multi-location and you understand the dynamics of those teams, if you get the right sale price, it's like buying an investment property, right? If you know how to do it. I mean, it's why I kick myself every other day. Like, am I going to start a team one day? Am I going to start? Like almost every day there's a little thing and it's coming louder. But like what do you, particularly because I have a son who will be amazing in sales.
You spoke at the conference.
Yes, that son, my 15-year-old. Oh my gosh, so intense. But I think if you understand, the problem has been evaluating the businesses. It's so all across the board. Like in the US, we've had more of a precedent for people selling teams, but they have a very different team model. Like the US has been so much stronger. Like even all the podcasts I do there, they're so much stronger on get 50 agents. It's more brokerage style, 5%. You can retain them. You can replace them. Like it's that Henry Ford that we're the opposite. Like we're like, imagine Ford with mastery, with artistry, like with value. Imagine, like to me, that's like utopia of team, right? And I like to live in ideals. But it's really different. So valuing something like that versus, coming over here and saying, okay, like what pieces can we move and it still stays intact,
That's what's always interesting too, because like I've noticed a lot, because people, like I did that series on my website, which you're part of, like get to know the coaches.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of it was people don't like the American side of it because it's actually like, well, there's a lot of similarities and it's the closest real estate market to Canada in the world. There's still a lot of differences. And I know like that's one that people like about you is that you're Canadian based.
Yeah.
Have you found like breaking into the US, you've had any of that kind of resistance that, oh, you're Canadian, you're not American?
Everything is timing. Everything's timing. The US opportunities we've had came to me. Like the Manhattan training was through Instagram. Like, like I'm a big believer in social media, as anyone who follows me knows, but I'm a huge believer in it. We came there, it was effortless. Our elite business builder system was fantastic there because they don't have the same exclusivity in MLS, or at least people are not using the exclusivity. So they saw huge value in our systems of being able to take online leads and get exclusivity and have those clients and actually have something, right? And protect your time. So we love that. And all of the podcasts, same thing. Like we have clients in Chicago right now. We have people coming on board in California, like, but we haven't actually gone into the States. It's organically happened. My goal is to support our top teams. That's everything I do is for them, because we've already carved out all that other part of it. I need to carve out ahead of our top people, right? So everything we do is to support them, and they need a strong network in Canada, right? And I care about them. So I'm like, we need the strongest network to mastermind, to collaborate, to refer, all of it, right? To recruit. I think it's really important for us that it's like, hey, like if you work with a team who works with KBCC with us, I know they're onboarding, I know the training, because there's teams out there now. Like I've had people bring contracts that are our contracts. They've never worked with us, and they sign them up and they promise all these things and they don't do any of it. And these people are like locked in, no leads, no opportunities, no training, not even meetings, like just nothing. So more and more, I'm always like, how do I support the people doing it right? Like I'm all about that. So it's more and more going to be like even recruitment. We're going to be advertising what we do in recruitment. So yeah, the US thing, I love working in US. I love traveling. So I love to travel. I love working with US. I love being in Manhattan. I'm all about all of it. But I believe you take care of the people who took care of you, right? So my focus, Canadian for sure, right now.
Yeah, like my focus now is more going Western Canada a bit now.
Yeah.
Because like I have some opportunities. We do a lot of white labeling, so like we have a lot of American companies who hire us to do it on behalf of their company without their clients actually knowing it's us doing the work.
Oh, okay.
So majority of like 95% of our American clients don't actually know they're our clients.
Oh yeah.
But now we're doing a bigger focus out west.
Yeah.
So like, I can go to Baltimore, I'm flying to Vancouver. So that's part of that process of trying to expand west.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was talking to Addo about that, because I used to go to Calgary and Vancouver every year for team building events, and I loved it because, again, I could bike around English Bay, right? It was great. I like the events too, but I just like to be outside, and that was good. But yeah, like going back, and it's, what was I going to say with it? Like it's, I think it's interesting, like given the shifts in markets and what happens. Like it was interesting when Calgary's market was really down. We had our most successful events. We have clients who built fantastic with us. Like I don't know why, I'm just thinking it's a good time to bring it up, because some people are unsure about the market. It's actually a great time to be building. But yeah, like I think for us the same. Like we have clients like across Canada, and it's I don't know.
I find it interesting because
Yeah.
I've only done like Calgary. I've done Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver for like events. Calgary gets better turnout than Vancouver.
Yeah.
But Vancouver's like 2-3 times the size easy.
The last two that I did in Vancouver, I had amazing turnout, but before that the same. We always had better numbers in Calgary. And I love people at both. I found different mentality, but yeah, the Canadian market, I do agree, has been different with team and how we're building, and just back to the evaluations, I think have been more difficult because there's no one multiplier, right? So everyone's always like, what's the multiplier? Like you talk to anyone who's selling it, it's just like commission, right? Like I think he was on your show, and I'm going to forget his name right now, which I'm going to feel bad about, but in Calgary, I think he's from Calgary.
Kelly Star.
Yeah, Kelly Star. So he was talking about team and commission. It was interesting how across the board it was, right? Because I know he was talking about, hey, you can pay 50-50, but you're not going to retain anybody. And we do it so much based on business principles, right? So we're the other side of the spectrum. Like if you pay 50-50 on everything, you're never going to get to where you could get to. So the thing is, there's no one gold standard, like we have people work with us who pay like 70%, but they want growth in other areas of their business. But I don't know, like I think there's no one multiplier. There's no one commission. Even for us, I've got the range of splits at teams that are successful. Like I'll only put the top teams in there of what they pay on a split, and then we've got like a flat fee version. So it's interesting, like depending who you talk to, you see the industry totally differently, right?
What do you find is the most common split for like an agent who has like buyer agents? How do you find they most often do their splits with them?
Well, we don't do buyer agents in our model. I know some of our clients do, not too many, but some do. And I know Keller Williams, like that's really popular. We find it comes out of the wash anyway, right? Like if you're very buyer strong, like an ISA is not going to put you on all the top competing listing appointments, and you'll still get listings from your buyers. So you'll still have positivity there. I'd say not like my personal clients, 99% of the ones who are top, like they're like 200 deals, 300 deals, 500 deals, 600, like the people who used our commission structure were 1,000 deal plus. they're all using a mix of flat fee and bonus. And as the market goes up, their people make much more money. It's not as if like people are like, oh, the flat fee, but it's like, you don't get it. There's bonuses, there's caps where you make 50% over cap. So you're making much more money. But those teams have the capacity to keep you really busy. Yeah. Like when I used to say I was 80% face-to-face with clients, I would stack my entire schedule because I had kids. I'd stack it. Like morning, I'd be in the office usually before anybody, but 8:45. And then I'd have like appointments if I wasn't prospecting back to back to back, like just time for driving, right? So if you have a team will support you that way. I mean, like Dan Gemma's team in Windsor, again, like they're number one there, but like their people are hopping. Like there are times where they can't even take leads. Because they're and it's like they had one person doing over 100 deals, 190, 180, and then another person came on 80. Like you tell me that environment isn't creating those producers? Of course it is, right? Same thing with St. Jean Realty. Like the same thing a couple years ago, Mark Ferris spoke at the summit. And I mean, he doesn't work with us right now or anything, but it's amazing to hear how many people on the team are doing like 80, 90, 100 deals individually on the team. So to me, it's no coincidence that when somebody comes to me for advice, I want to give them the advice of the systems that produce the top of the top. If you don't want to go there, great. But if you deviate, you might not be able to get there, right? So I'm careful about that. So I'm the whole other side of it. I'm like, I wouldn't work for a team that paid me 80%. Because I understand business principles and I know you're not going to do anything for me and you can't afford to do anything for me. And if you pay to do something, you're probably eventually in a year or two, your bookkeeper's going to let you know that you're taking a hit. You're not making anything to be a team leader and you can't afford to give the opportunities, let alone, are you going to give me any of your personal business? No. And if there's a team doing other parts of the trade, like I want volume, right? I want to be able to do the pieces I love and keep going. So it's just different models.
What do you do to encourage? Because like I know, like for instance, I won't say who it is, but I worked with this team years ago.
Okay.
And they did like 400 plus deals a year, and we were looking at marketing. And I was like, and we were talking about like promoting some of the things his team members were doing.
Yeah. He's
like, no, I don't want anyone on my team mentioned.
Oh.
Because then people will recruit them and take them away. What do you do with your team to like basically, because I didn't agree with that way of doing it. I'd rather promote them. Like with my team, I promote them. I don't, if they get a better opportunity and leave, then that's my fault. But like, what do you do to help people with kind of like retaining agents that they've invested a lot of time into?
I think there's a lot more to retention than just the money. First of all, like I think there's lots of agents who will stay on teams that, you know, potentially they could go and make a little bit more money on their own. But when they took into consideration how much the team did for them, they could never pay for someone else to do that and make the same amount of money. I still go back to, I'm a big believer in the quality of work life thing. I mean, I was taught that way, so it's held on, but I truly believe you need to have opportunities, you need to have stability, and you need to be paid fairly. You don't need to be paid the top of the spectrum. If you have more opportunities than someone, like it's age-old thing, great, you're going to get 90%, but you know what's going to happen? The team's going to grow. They might recruit other people on a different system because to grow, they need to invest in marketing and they can't afford to pay you that, invest in the marketing. So what? You're going to have other people come in, take those opportunities, and now you're putting yourself in a position where you're not being supported. So these people are going to do 10 times the business as you. You get your 2 deals at 80%. Well, hey, maybe, depending on your market. So I'm a big believer in like a lot of the best teams are like family. That's why when you leave a team or people leave, it's hard. Like when I left, even though I was running the coaching business, I was very close with some of the people on the team. Like some of them still, like if they needed me still, like right away, like I see them like family. And that was a big part of the retention, right? And you do things together, right? Like you celebrate things together. I know a lot of teams, when I first started, it was a big dream to go on a trip, right? It was a dream. Like some of them, it was a 3-year goal. If we hit this number, we're going on the trip. And it took like 3 years. And you think when they didn't go on that trip, like how much it bound them, right? And you know, on teams, like I know people I was on a team with, like we've had lost people, right? Like we've had people be ill, like, you know, like you support, and on a team, it's different. You're not, you jump in to help those people when those things happen. It's about so much more than money. Like it's about lifestyle and quality of life in the end. And opportunities. Like I think team leaders, if you're going to use our commission structure, but you're not investing in opportunities and you're not getting your people busy enough, that's not fair. Because they're getting paid that way to do higher volume because they're leveraging the team to do these other facets. And I find it's hard because you need to make enough money. It's an old school thing. You need to make enough money to take money off the table. I need to make enough that I don't worry about money, right? Like everything in my business, people are like, well, how much you want to make? I'm like, I don't even set goals for how much I'm going to make. I don't care. I set goals for like impact, the growth, and even on team. I did all my numbers, but it's like, what is going to make you happy and energized? People stay in energized environments where they feel like they're growing and they like the people they're around, right? Like, I'm the first to say drivers on a team are going to push you. Like, I had different people run the team I was on. Like, sometimes I pushed them and they expanded, and other people pushed them. Other times they had to be like, Kathleen, like, screw off. And they were right, you know? Like, they were right, because drivers respect that. So you can't have a team and think there's not going to be the human perspective. I think that's probably, to be honest, the human perspective is probably the part impacting retention the most. Yeah. Because if you just want a team but you don't care about the people and you don't care, and I don't work with anyone like that, just to put out, not a single person, even the people who are struggling with their business care about their team people. But yeah, people can feel it, right? Like, if you truly want to be like Ford and you feel like everyone's replaceable around you, they know it. You don't have to say it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I've been in environments like that, and it's like, you just want to tell them, where to go, right?
You're like, reading it, Forbes, like, I'm sure they've been, other people mentioned, or I was reading on Forbes, where it's like, the number one reason people leave, as the only thing it is their media supervisor. There's nothing, like, that was far and away the number one reason for everybody.
Well, and what's interesting to me about that, because I saw that similar, because this is one of the things that people can beat themselves up about, right? So it's the number one reason the immediate person leaves is their immediate supervisor. That can go two ways. Because you can have a supervisor who's really committed to a performance environment, who wants the best of you and is like, come on, and is cheering you on. And when you know you're not going to do it, like, I've seen people self-sabotage so much that you're like, are you kidding? Like, are you trying to get fired? Like, what the heck are you doing? And you watch them do it, and it's like this spinning mess. And you just want to put your hands on, it's like a spinning top. You just want to be like, just pause, Like, look around you. Look what you're doing. Stop, because no one else is spinning. And sometimes a great manager is going to like cheer you on, and then eventually they're going to be like, yeah, guess what? This is not going to cut it. You're affecting our entire team. So I totally think that's true, but sometimes it's for good reason. The best managers or team leaders are also going to create cultures where they will not put up with things that are going to affect the rest of the team. And good for them. And I think they beat themselves up sometimes when the right people did leave.
Yeah, like, I remember the first person I ever let go, I'm pretty sure they wanted to be fired. It got to that point where like, yeah, I don't think you actually want to be here anymore. You just don't want to say I quit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had actually the first person I fired, I had to do it twice, because the first time I felt too bad and whatever. Yeah. And the second time I actually did. And funny enough, I remember it was 6 months or 6 to 8 months later, they came back. And they tried to come back to the other business partner, whatever. And they came to me like, would you consider taking them back? I'm like, are you kidding me? But I had a meeting with them, and they actually fessed up. They're like, I was so intimidated. I was so mad that you were put in this position to run the company and everything was going, and we felt responsible, and I hated you. Like, they actually told me, like, I hated you. I wanted to get you fired. I did everything to make your life horrible, and I'm so sorry. Like, they actually said, they're like, I look back and I don't know how you didn't crack. They're like, we were horrible to you. And then I brought him back, and he was amazing, right? And then he ended up later on to get something else that was better for his family, and he gave me a hug, he wrote me a card, like, like, it was such a great turnaround. But if I had to beat myself up in the first place, like,
held a grudge too.
And I didn't. No. I knew he was mad. Like, it was fun.
It was obvious.
It was very obvious that he did not want me there. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that normally, like, I've seen it before where I haven't worked for a ton of companies because it's often been like self-employed and things like that. But like the few I have been, you can tell the people who don't like what they're doing. Like, it's pretty obvious. People aren't that good at hiding it.
Well, sure. And it's like, and also if something's going on in other areas of your life, business is always an easy target, because I believe, like, your energy, your personal energy fuels your business. Mm-hmm. So if your energy is somewhere else, like if I'm having a hard time with with my son, right? Like, let's say he's being a horrible teenager. Oh my gosh, I better watch what I say. But that could deplete me. And then I come to work and be like, I hate running this business. I'm so overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. Because work is an easy scapegoat. And in real estate, we totally power our businesses, right? So you have stuff going on and they come into a team. It's easy to be like, I'm not happy, this is happening. So, like, again, it's the human factor. How do you support people and care without making it like, okay, I don't want to be their therapist? Yeah. I don't know.
Where do you find that line of like, I want to help them get better versus now's the time to let them go?
This is where I always believe in doing everything you possibly can. So for me, I don't want to ever let somebody go or make a call unless I am sure I did everything I could to become a better boss. I mean, I don't use the word boss, we're very collaborative, but a better manager, owner, whatever your position, better team leader, and that you've done everything you could to give them the benefit of the doubt to get there. So we usually, like in our coaching, when that's happening, we have something, you can call it a performance audit, I call it like intensive coaching. That's what it is. It's like we're going to meet 3-4 times a week and we're going to have set targets because I see that you don't see where it's going to click. Like you've set these goals for yourself. I didn't set them. You set them. So do you still want them? Most of the time, yeah, they want them. So you're watching and you're going, well, in order to get those goals, you need to be here and you're not naturally doing that. So how can we create a little bit of tension that's going to create focus, that's going to be a little bit, not physically painful, mentally painful, to adjust to get to that place. And sometimes you need that. Like if you're meeting with someone 4 times a week and they're going, did you do, like, are you on their calls? What's the script? What's the objection? And you have to face it. You'll see people like go through that process 4 and 5 times over 2 and 3 years on a team and become like a top agent. You will also see people who eventually see it and they're like, you know what? It's not for me. And it's not, and that's totally cool, right? And the difference is, like, I forget the word for it in corporate business. There's a like creative dismissal or something. Like, there's a negative spin to some people who use that model because they're purposely trying to push people out, and no matter what they do, they'll say they didn't reach it. That's not, like, ours is, we want to do everything we can to help you get there. Like, we're 100% on board. If you show up, like, we're doing everything except for doing it for you, because if we give you the opportunity and you do nothing with it, that's on you. Like, you have to have skin in the game, right?
Yeah, that's good. Similar to telling me, like, I had someone who made a big mistake for us years ago. Yeah. And even the client was just like, you're firing them? I'm like, no, I just paid a lot to educate them. Yeah. Like, I think that it's also my fault for not training them right way. Like, I feel like I have the mentality, like, if they screw up, I normally blame myself.
Well, and this is like the team leader thing, where even at the conference, a couple of team leaders called me on it because we said, end of the day, the team leader is always 100% responsible for absolutely everything happening in the team. And I know a couple of people were like, well, wait, like, what if somebody's being irresponsible? What if they're not supposed to be doing what they're doing? But end of the day, we have no power in being a victim. No power. So if you're a victim to anything in your business, you are powerless. The minute you say, okay, they're not doing what they said they're going to do, they're not doing this, what action can I take? It's only as long as you let it continue. And the minute you see how powerful you are in your business, you can also be powerful in helping people. But if you think you're prey to it, you're just like, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. And I think the only thing I didn't bring up about when to let somebody go is sometimes, like, if a team's established, they have values, they have culture. Culture will push people out. And there's some things, like, I know probably all business leaders, like, I have some things that are non-negotiable. Like, to me, lying, like legitimately lying, causing drama, like trying to recruit people to leave, like that stuff's non-negotiable. When you find out people are doing things like a lie, sure, like, hey, there's lots of people who have lied on a team, right? Like, depends on a big lie, or people who are trying to recruit people to leave the team with them. Like, you have to shut that down immediately. Like, think about it. Like, to me, I don't know, this is my own bias, but you have to have such a lack of awareness to be doing something like that, because you're trying to cause so much mess and noise instead of dealing with whatever it is. Why get other people in? Like, just speak for yourself. So to me, that's very dangerous, because I've seen that happen where people leave and those other people weren't necessarily better off, right? There was one person who was upset, and instead of dealing with it, they decided to try to recruit a bunch of people. And like, depending on your values, you have to have some lines where you're like, hey, yeah, like, I can't have that around me. I wish you well. I'm not upset with you, but no, like, you can't do that here.
Makes sense.
Well, yeah. What does Dr. Phil call it? It's like, I'm forgetting there's a word he has for, like, non-negotiables, but it's not non-negotiable.
Maybe seen half an episode.
I haven't seen Dr. Phil like 10, well, I have a cable like 14 years, but he has something. Maybe it is non-negotiable. I don't know. Anyway.
I got rid of cable 5 years, and I watched a lot. I watched way too much TV. Like,
oh, really?
I used to be that guy who, like, came home from work, would turn the TV on, and while I'd do other things, it would be on until I went to bed.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and then I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Do you find you have so much more energy?
I'm always working. So
me too. Yeah.
Like, that's because, like, now, like, I drop my daughter off at daycare, come home and work till she's home from daycare. Yeah. Put her till bed, eat dinner with my wife, go back to work. So it's like, I just don't have time for TV. Yeah. Well, it's like, 'cause if I'm just sitting there, like, watching Netflix, I'm like, I could be working.
Well, and if you love it, that's the thing.
I enjoyed it, so.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I found eventually though my mind, like it was going to, there's a point where it's a diminishing return.
Mm-hmm.
I find when I work to a certain point consistently, I start to diminish the return. And that was really good for me because I started to go, okay, if I go to yoga, I do all these things, I have way more energy, I feel good, I get more done. That's just for me, but I also.
Yeah, I've kind of found like randomly, I like movie theaters that are open early because like I'll just randomly be like, it'll be like a Friday morning and be like, I'm just gonna go to the movies. I need like 2 hours. Yeah. Take my head out of it and then come back after.
Yeah, make it enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny when I first when I lived downtown, starting a business. It worked because I lived downtown. It was super easy.
Yeah.
Everything's open all the time. Moved up to the suburbs. Movie theaters open until 7. I'm like,
I know.
Not an option anymore.
9:30 movie. I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. This is the thing, right? It's the business. Building business is not for everybody.
Definitely not.
You have to love it.
Yeah. So here's an interesting one. So building, because I'm sure you get it a lot too. Mm-hmm. It's like I know I've been getting it a lot more and more, and I'm trying to find a balance. So, and how often do you get people who message you to be like, "Can I buy you a coffee and pick your brain?"
Yeah.
And how do you respond to people who do that all the time?
Okay, so I don't know if it's just me. I want your feedback on this because I think I personally must get like more Facebook Messenger messages than like anyone in the free world. Like I don't know if it's just me. Like all day, people like my sister's like, "Why are you always active on Messenger?" But you don't understand. My whole business life is on Facebook Messenger. Like I don't understand it. But I get it. I think I held on to some habits from selling, and nobody, close your ears, don't like. But I believe I was taught segment intending. So segment intending is if I know why someone's calling me and I know what they want, I can be responsive. If I don't, and I'm doing other things, like I won't pick up my phone. So to me, like I was that agent. If you were calling me to ask the property taxes and I knew you were on Treb, I'm probably not going to call you back. Like you can look it up, right? I get it. I'm mean, fine. So I just wouldn't do it. But like I was selling a lot of houses, I had to prioritize. And now, unless I'm only in the last 3 months have I been in a position in my business where I can even pick up the phone and just respond to somebody because my entire business day, every single day is fully booked. Okay. So unless a time is booked to talk to me, you can't get at me. So that's why they Facebook message me because they know in between I have Facebook Messenger. But I wouldn't. But so now I sometimes get it and I do. Like if someone needs advice, I believe in goodwill. I mean, if I can't, I say I can't. But we get a lot, like we do free consult calls too, right? So like I'm totally fine that a decent percentage of our consult calls won't coach with us because they're not ready to. They need advice on how to move forward. Maybe they're not ready to build or do anything. And that's like our coffees, right? Like we do those all the time. Yeah. And we're totally cool. Like if it's not a good fit, I'm still happy. I never regret the call, even if I know they're not going to be a good fit. So the actual coffees, I'm trying to think. I got an email from David Greenspan actually messaged me at one point and he said, let's chat, like can we have lunch? And I was like, who has lunch? Like who has time to have lunch? Like I don't have an opening in my schedule to have lunch for 3 weeks. Like not because I was mean. I think, and I felt bad after. I was like, I'm such a jerk. Like why the heck did I say that? And I didn't mean it that way. I meant like I feel legitimately bad that I'm now a person who can't say yes to have a lunch. Like and even past clients, like I want to have that time with people, and only now am I at a place in my business where I have a little bit of flex time because I'm doing new types of projects to grow the whole business. I'm not that time dollar.
Start a podcast. You can interview people over lunch.
We're supposed to, over lunch. Yeah. So you know what? Like I got one today just on the way here of, hey, like I'm making a change in my business. Can I touch base with you? I get other coaches, ironically, who send people who want to get in the coaching business to me. Yeah. And I've had lunch with them. I've had coffee. Sometimes it usually is at 8 a.m. or 8:30 because I want to do it, but I don't have time. So they come and we have coffee. And I do, and I feel good about it, but I don't know, like if I was getting hundreds of them, I couldn't, Yeah,
that's what like the struggle that I've found is like, Facebook Messenger is
it crazy? It's not just me.
I think I'm at the point now because like I use my email inbox like a to-do list. So like all the unread ones, but I've gotten that pretty controlled to a degree, but Messenger, it doesn't work the same where you can filter the unread to the top. No. And you're getting so many that I feel bad because like every now and then I'll just go look at messages, start scrolling. And I'll realize like 50 messages ago, it was like 3 days before, but I've missed it. And I start feeling bad because I feel like I'm ignoring people. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, it's Because like I like giving back to like people because
Yeah.
like I know like Katie Lance, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she has like a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
When I started this, I did that to her. I'm like,
Yeah.
can I pick your brain?
Yeah.
And she jumped on the phone for me for like 45 minutes. Like Scott
Wow.
Stratton's done it with me.
Nice.
So I'm like, I want to give that back to people. And it's like, I remember when I first started, I said yes to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like there was 1-2 week period, I checked, I did 50 hours of just calls with people. And then, so now I have like set up where it's like, I have so many skip points in my calendar each week where I'll do those calls.
Yes.
But then like the other side was like a client tried messaging me,
Yeah.
and I use a thing called Calendly, which where you can just like book directly in my calendar.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do you not have time for half an hour with us for another week and a half?
It's hard.
Yeah. But it's very regimented what we do.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, this is why I
Yeah.
love my clients I work with, but I say they're in better hands
Mm-hmm.
because my clients sometimes are like, I need to talk to you today, and I'm looking at my day and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
booked from like 8 a.m. and I have to drive. I won't even be home till 7. Like not every day. That's not my day, but I think at the end it's like to grow a business to a certain point. I'm nowhere near where I want my business to be. You know, nowhere near. And to grow it to a certain point, it's like I have people rely on me, right? I have children, I have coaches, I have marketing coordinators, I have consultants, I have our admin, and I'm gonna have more people, you know, and they rely on me. And at the end of the day, I rely on myself that I set commitments, and I wanna show a good example that you can set commitments and you can prioritize your time, and that's not a bad thing. And that's how I've always done it through real estate and now coaching. And I think if I set the example that I can talk to anyone anytime, all the time, then I'm not really setting a good example for team leaders, let alone for people who are selling, because they have to say no sometimes and they feel bad.
Yeah.
And why? Like, why feel bad? I've got priorities. You've got priorities. Your priority is to try to get this for me. Yes, I can do it, but I can't necessarily do it when you want me to. Like, I have to be just as committed to my growth to set an example as you are to yours, right? We all struggle with it, I think. And it makes us, I feel like a nasty person. I used to when I talk about it. Now, I'm more like I've seen the quality of my life that's come from it. And with my kids, you know.
Yeah, because I used to take calls like any time. Now I'm like, you know, 5 to 8 every day.
Yeah.
Family time. There's no interruptions for that.
This is it.
Unless it's like a conference and I'm coming back. But that's,
Yeah.
there's the odd exception.
Yeah,
For the most
because
part,
kids
it's,
know.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, like my son is trained. Like he'll look at me, he's like, Mom, eye contact. And he'll lecture me. He's like, Mom, I really require eye contact for us to communicate effectively. I need you to turn your body and look at me full focus. And he knows. And he'll actually walk up to me if I'm like, okay, just let me get this done first. And he'll turn me and go like this. Like, Mom, focus.
Yeah, I have to
they
like
know.
literally take my phone, like put it in a different room.
Yeah.
And just be like, that's the
That's
only
it.
way. Because if it's on me, like even if there's like a 5-second silence, I'll just be like, I'll check. Because like so
Yeah.
much business like comes off Facebook notifications, for example, that
Yeah.
I'm constantly checking it.
Yeah, and it makes me wired. Like when I have too much of that, it's just, yeah, like eventually it's like, okay, if I put it, I always say when you get too busy where you're reactive, you'll say yes to things you never would have if you wouldn't let yourself get that far. So it's like remembering, why am I saying yes to this? I wouldn't normally, like come down a little bit. But yeah, no, I totally relate to it. And if anyone's like, yeah, I love helping people build. And people know anyone who comes to me and like, I'm committed to doing this, I will always make time for them. Yeah, how do you live the dream, right?
Yeah.
How do you get there? You know, like everybody, it may be cliche, but everybody's got something they really believe in. And I believe like my life is, you know, I've had people pass earlier, and every day I'm like, I don't know, I could be here 2 years, I could be here 80 more years. And I want my kids to see a life of purpose. I don't want them to be like, oh, well, it's, you know, get up and do whatever. I want them to like do something they care about. So, you know, I bring it back to that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
This has been awesome.
It's been fun. Anything else you want to bring up or?
I don't think so. Like, hopefully if you, you know, like, yeah, if you're interested in anything, we're all over social media. Like anybody who friends me, I still friend them if they're a realtor. And we love people, like to meet with people or come out to any of our stuff. And this isn't a sales pitch, but we always like to meet new people looking to grow their business, right?
So if people want to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you?
Our website is www.itttakesa.team. So our hashtag is #ittaksateam because, you know, I think it does to be top 1%. That's my bias. www.itttakesa.team. And anybody can get, like, they can do a free business assessment, request a consult call. But our big thing is Ultimate Team Summit, right? Like that's our 3-day intensive, and it's a lot of fun. And intense and you learn a lot, right? If you're a 100 deal plus team leader, come to Muskoka, hang out with us,
I'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be fun, chill at the bonfire, and there'll be a lot of really incredible leaders there, right? So I'm looking forward to it.
And then the next week, come to Collingwood
That's
for
right.
my conference.
Sorry. And I'm going to be there too. So I'm just as excited about
So you're going to
that.
spend a lot of time with us in a 1 week period.
Absolutely. Very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and stay tuned for whoever the guest I end up deciding to air after this one is. Have a great day.